So I was just listening to a young lady. She was talking about the past 4 years and talking about this right here. And this right here is an unknown territory. That's where we are, living in unknown times, because we really don't understand what's happening to the earth. Because for years, there were people out there talking about climate change and pollution. And then after, not too long after Donald was in office, but let's just understand the Gulf was on fire. I mean, the Gulf was actually on fire because, see, they tried to clean up that oil spill when Obama was in office. And they put so much poison in the water, then all of a sudden animals were dying in the masses, but we don't want to connect that shit with that shit that's really what's going on. And then the North Pole, where all that ice and snow is up there, no ice and no snow. The earth is warming and we don't understand what the consequences are. We just keep on buying insurance for the coastal regions. But, we haven't even thought about what we could do as a community and coming together and figuring out how cities don't flood. Because let's not pretend that Obama didn't come up and give every city a large sum of money and told them to think about what would they need in the case of an emergency. And down in Ferguson, well, hell, y'all seen what they pulled out, all those tankers and shit? They were getting ready to stop the black people from protesting. A lot of people get offended when black people speak. Apparently, so offended that they would try to limit their ability to communicate effectively and then actually go into the settings of what they offer as a service and then mute the conversations. I just gotta say, in America, after, I had my children, I didn't raise my children to participate in public policy, but perhaps I should have. The real reality is so many people don't participate in public policy or in the engagement of policies that are written that we all live by. Hell, we pay their taxes, and when the money comes back, they figure out how to use it for themselves. Here in Clark County, they may be 690 teachers short, but they don't plan on being that for long. Because, see, there was a plan in the making to hire 18-year-olds and put them in the classroom with our children. And that's where they were going to move when they had these, having to deal with allowing access to happen for children at an early start. Because they just didn't have the percentage of children who were benefiting. They had 0 3-year-olds, just 0, but all of these behavioral issues that our children have. And they're certainly collecting that data. That data is not found within the district. It is found at the county Department of Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services. And that's where all that negative data is found. So it's just concerning to me how we can't get out of the box and how we don't think globally and how people who perhaps never had a global perspective on the analyzation of the outcomes or lack of maintenance for the public services, yet we all pay. They decide that you should not have a seat at the table. And I'm not trying to get to their table. You see, I understand what I know is what I know. Difficult to participate in some organizations, but mostly not difficult to participate in school organizations, as the obligation is just to look for a better pathway in providing services until I got here. To ensure that how children are learning, that they're learning and talking about it around the table at the SOT team. How many kids are benefiting, what they're doing, how they ensuring access, and how they spending the money, and who they planned on hiring, and how they brought them in. And everything was talked about in California, in the school that my son was in. He made great progress. But not all children made the same kind of progress he made. Nope, because they didn't have the same mama. But I did, over the time, provide support for other families in Sacramento. And that's just, but it's hard to provide support to people who don't want your help. And I really don't care that I have not been able to have a conversation with Miss Joan Ebert, but she has talked with me on the Zoom meetings that Lavoski has had. But it's hard to talk to anybody here in here. It was hard to talk in Sacramento too. Actually, it wasn't hard to talk to the people who came out to volunteer to be on the school site councils, or or the PTA, or same kind of people. But here, with people, I don't know. They like to build consensus in organizations. And what confuses me the most is that legislators believe that they have the right and the power to not obligate the district to follow the federal guidance and then help support what they'd like to see happen. Because this is fraud, manipulation of the federal rules, and it's not abiding by the law. And I don't care. The law is the law. And if you're in public school, you need to understand that failure is not an option. And the services that they provide, well, legally, they have to provide them. To who? Well, to the children who are generating the money. That's how come they don't have the data. And no, it's not acceptable that they don't have the data. I don't know what they do, but they need to change what they're doing so that they can have the data. And so October the 1st is coming very soon. I can't wait for it to get here to understand, because see, the reimbursement money is just not coming. And they don't understand that yet, but they will. And the people who should be doing the work will start doing the work, because the work was outlined today or yesterday in that meeting that I recorded at the Pupil-Centered Funding people. They are the people that should not be dealing with the requirements of the basic skills that should be happening at the school site. Those schools should have the data that demonstrates that they're giving all children access, and they don't. The mere fact that they've set themselves up to move children into programs. And I don't know where those 15,000 children who went through the harbor were last year, because that was a statement that was made during legislative time. 15,000. That's a lot of children. And the harbor is real. So they have this, my brother's keeper, whatever, meeting coming up. Has to do with the black boys. Really, I mean, the Promise Zone. And just the mere fact that the Promise Zone is structured out there in the historic West Side, but we don't have a committee of black people who understand the implementation of the Promise Zone, or just how that money was supposed to affect the black community, because it's not affecting the black community at all. Just because you give a few people a few pennies, it doesn't mean that life has changed for the youngest and the neediest, because I don't see the services. That's something I don't see. And I guess I'm going to stay annoying and just stay doing what it is that I'm doing, because people need to understand the rules are the rules, and they will always be the rules, and the rules have never changed. So under IDEA 2004, that's real. Goals 2000 had a certain set of parameters. Leave No Child Behind had a certain set of parameters. Every Child Succeed Act, that was ESSA, that was Obama. And Leave No Child Behind, that was Bush. Goals 2000 was the other Bush or whatever. But, the real thing is Obama, and Clinton had something in there, IDEA 2004. So, the years just pass by, and we just get older. But if you've lived an experience, you understand that you've lived that experience, and the laws just never change. The rules don't change, except for how people would like to implement the rules. That changed, perhaps. So in America, the word is e pluribus unum. Out of many there's one, but out of one there will be none. So let's all understand. There are rules under Title I. There are rules under neglected and delinquent. There are just rules in a process in which you can use the money. But if you're not using it right, it's just not free money, boo. It's just not free. So you will get a clue before 2022. Y'all have a good evening.